The Revere City Council meeting of November 22nd, 2021 will now come to order. Please rise and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call of the members. Councilor Janino. Here. Here. Councilor Guanasso.
Here.
Here. Councilor Keefe.
Here.
Here. Councilor McKenna.
Here.
Here. Councilor Morbido.
Here.
Here. Councilor Novoselsky. Here. Councilor Powers. Is absent. Councilor Rotundo.
Present.
Here. Councilor Sereno. Here. Councilor Visconti.
Here.
Here. And Council President Zambudo.
Here.
Here. Quorum is present.
Motion to suspend rules.
Not yet.
Okay, thank
We
you.
continue with the next order of business.
Calendar item number 3, hearing called as ordered.
No.
I'm sorry, approval of the journal of the regular meeting of November 15th.
So move.
All in favor, all opposed, so ordered. Now you want to suspend rules?
I want to suspend rules.
Okay. All in favor, all opposed?
May we take up the issues regarding communications from Mr. Viskey and any other matter on the calendar that we have with him? Thank you.
I want to start with communications. There's also a couple of...
I'm going to let the clerk decide what's going first. Go ahead. Madam Clerk.
So we should go in order? I don't know, whatever you guys want to do. There's no...
Move number 16
Take it in
first.
order accordingly, please.
Say that again.
Move number 16 first.
I take them in order of,
16 is the election commissioner, not Rich.
okay. Let's take her up. Come on.
Calendar item number...
Madam Election Commissioner.
Okay. Calendar
Yes, sir.
number 16,
Go
communication
ahead.
from the election commissioner requesting approval of the warrant for the special state primary on Tuesday, December 14th.
Good evening, Diane Colella, Election Commissioner, and I am seeking your approval for the warrant for the special state primary on December 14th.
So moved.
All in favor, all opposed? So ordered.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Calendar item number 17, communication from the city auditor relative to the repurposing of the Mckinley School bond authorization for DPW and fire station projects.
Mr. CFO.
Thank you, Council, and thank you for taking this out of order. I understand this will go to a public hearing, but I just wanted to come up here and ask your consideration to repurpose a previous authorized bond in the amount of $2.5 million. That was for the Mckinley School to be repurposed for public buildings, being that we have two large projects going out to bid. One of them is the Point of Pines Fire Station. The other is the DPW facility. Some concerns about inflation and supply chain issues that we're hedging against with the repurposing of these bonds in the event that they come over the appropriated amount. So just wanted to put that into your lap for a public hearing, and hopefully we can get this approved on the 6th. Thank you very much.
So you know when I hear McKinley School, my blood boils and I get a sticky thing in my throat because we were promised by then the superintendent Dakin that they would pay for the renovations there. And so it was another broken promise that I'll never forget. However, your purpose up here is totally in order, and I will support it.
Move the
Thank you
regular
very
order of
much.
business.
Move to a public hearing.
Calendar item number 5, hearing called as ordered for the purpose of establishing the minimum residential factor for adoption of the fiscal year 2022 tax rate.
Mr. Chairman, is that the title? Wait a minute, what's the title?
Chairman, you got it.
Chairman, okay. Yeah.
Good evening, councilors. We're here tonight as a proponent for the residential factor for the council to adopt a .885317 residential factor. What that will do will allow us to do 175% shift of the residential tax rate to the commercial tax rate. Historically, council has always adopted that, and it provides the greatest benefit to the residential taxpayer.
Do you have anything else you want to present before I
Yeah,
open this
I
up?
provided an assessment overview in your packet. I just wanted to run through that quickly.
Go right ahead.
Sure. To begin with is the levy limit, so that's the amount of money that we're going to raise through real estate and personal property taxes. So how that gets calculated is last year's limit was $95,665,289. So we add 2.5% of that, which is what the Prop 2.5 allows you to do. And then also added to that is new growth. So the total tax levy is $102,073,296. So that is the amount of money that'll be raised through taxes. So as I mentioned, growth, that's a major contributor to the levy. What that is anything that's subject to taxation for the first time. So any new articles of personal property, any property that was previously exempt that isn't now, any splits or merges, any condo conversions, any construction is captured as new growth. So the existing taxpayers don't pay that, just anybody who has anything new. So again, that was $4,016,375. So that's the largest growth that the city has ever realized. 2.1 million of that came from residential, and 1.9 million came from the commercial side. That's the largest commercial growth that we've ever had, which outpaced last year's, which was previously the largest. So where does it all come from? On the residential side, we wrapped up a few big apartment buildings, 500 Ocean Ave, 320 Revere Beach Boulevard, 21 Boulevard, 50 Ocean Ave, 90 Ocean Ave, 450 American Legion Highway. Suffolk Downs subdivision is finally coming to fruition. So we know this council approved a subdivision plan for them, and we're finally starting to realize the fruits of that labor. Shirley Ave, obviously, getting redeveloped, so a lot of those buildings came online this year. A couple land changes that went from vacant lots and got merged together for apartments, those came on. And then we have our usual, new construction, single-family, two-family homes, and then any additions, things like that. On the commercial side, the big contributors were Amazon, again, the Suffolk Downs subdivision, so that had some residential, some commercial. We had a couple hotels come online. Caddy Farms did a subdivision, so they merged all their lots together to create two larger parcels. So that came online this year. And then on the personal property side, you look around, you see all these new wires going up and pipes in the ground, we get to tax that stuff. So National Grid, Gas and Electric, Comcast, RCN, Sprint, Verizon, T-Mobile, all those cell towers, all those things contribute on the personal property side. On the valuations, so an overview, how a value is determined. So Massachusetts law requires that we establish a full and fair market value for real estate as of January 1 of each year. So for fiscal '22, we're looking at a valuation date of January 1, 2021, using the previous 12 months market. So we're looking at calendar year 2020 to determine the values for fiscal '22. And we use a mass appraisal computer software system to evaluate that market activity, and then everything's adjusted, by location, size, construction quality, style, condition. On the commercial side, income and expense, and capitalization rates. So for calendar year 2020, we had 1,212 sales. Of all those sales, 469 were determined to be arm's length transactions. So we take all the dollar sales, or people just putting their homes in trust, or selling their house to a sibling, or a son or a daughter, so those don't count. We just look at the real arm's length transactions. So usually on a year-to-year basis, we see around 3 to 5% of our total housing stock trade, which is pretty healthy. Once we do that, we submit all that information to the Department of Revenue. Department of Revenue oversees everything as law. So they do their own statistical analysis of everything that we submit to them, and they do that on a yearly basis, and then every 5 years they do an even more in-depth analysis of that valuation, which will be next year. So now the residential factor. So what that does is it makes sure that the shift complies with Mass General Law. The Acts of 1988 was amended to allow a larger shift. So previously, it was up to 150%. This act allowed us to go to 175. So again, historically, we adopt that 175 shift, and if we do so tonight, we'll have a residential tax rate of $10.40 and a commercial tax rate of $20.56. So now the fun stuff. What does that all mean? So this is an overview of kind of the average change in values and the average change of the result of those values in tax dollars. So single families, you know, their values saw an increase of around 12.4%, resulting in an average increase of $264. Now, average is just a way to gauge, you know, what's going on against last year. Nobody's average, right? So some people might see less of an increase, people might see more. Condominiums in general went up around almost 8%, which results in very little tax increase, around $20. The condos as a whole, the townhomes style of condos saw a little bit of a larger increase. There seemed to be more of a demand for the townhouse style as an alternative to the single family. So obviously we see that the single family value increased drastically. So it kind of priced some people out, and they looked to that townhome style condominium, which seemed to be selling at a higher clip than your garden style, you know, down on the beach, you know, type of condominium. The two families saw almost a 10% increase in assessed values, resulting in around $175 tax increase. Three families, pretty close to that as well, 8%, with a $192 increase in taxes. And commercial, again, saw around a 10% increase. So that's where we fell this year. So we're here for any questions or comments.
Thank you. Councilor Rotundo first.
Thank you, Council President. Through you, my question that I have is, what is our current balance between owner-occupied and non-owner-occupied properties? Likewise, what was the actual number of apartments greater than 4 units built within the city within the past 2 years, if you have that number?
The owner-occupied versus occupied it's something we look at typically every other year as far as analyzing whether a residential exemption would work in the city or not. So we did it a year and a half ago. We'll be doing it again in the upcoming months. Our past studies have shown that it's not beneficial yet. The city isn't at a point where the non-owner occupied percentage is high enough
What is
to
the number?
not result in an increase for people who are over the break even. We're at like 83% on our last analysis.
On owner-occupied?
Owner occupied.
That's
Counselor,
impossible. I'm sorry,
Unfortunately, I
excuse
got to
me.
stop you because I made a mistake. We're in a public hearing. It's not time for councilors to speak.
I apologize.
No, I should have been paying
Thank
more
you.
attention. Okay, so any other proponents? This is a public hearing. We heard from proponents. Any other proponents of the residential factor? Hearing and seeing none, we're going to close that side of the hearing. Any opponents? People opposed? Hearing and seeing none, we're going to close that side of the hearing. All right, continue. Councilor Rotundo, were you finished or not?
I'm not finished.
Okay.
So are you saying that we're 83% owner-occupied at this point?
That's what the analysis has showed that we've done several times over the last.
Then that's totally different than
number of
what Tom
years.
Ambrosino did when he was mayor, and I can tell you that there's been more commercial development and a sense of housing than anything else. And
Right, so
I'd
the-
like to see that breakdown. I'd like to see the numbers on
Yeah, so
1,
the-
2, and 3, what's it, 101, 102?
Yeah, the 101 is 102. So our housing stock is primarily made up of single families, condominiums, and two families. So when an apartment building is built, it only adds one parcel extra because it's only one parcel. So it's one owner-occupied parcel versus the 12,000 other owner-occupied
You're counting it
parcels.
different than what was counted before, because well, I'm telling you what, when Tom Ambrosino was here, and it was 45%. So.
Let's not get
I guess
into a
we
back and forth
No,
about
no,
whether-
I guess there's a
Okay.
different way of counting it now, and versus when Tom Ambrosino did it, when we were looking for the exemption, like they do in Boston, like they do in Chelsea. I believe right now we do have that ability, considering with everything coming online. There were promises made, and I'd like to see them fulfilled.
All right, thank you. Counselor Keefe.
Thank you. This is always a fun time of year for you. Thank you for coming up here, and I think that we all have a good relationship. I appreciate what your entire team does, so please don't take this as a negative. Just take it as some feedback and criticism that I would like to see some traction on. Just looking at the percentages, the largest increase on assessments was single-family homes. Those are the people that we mostly represent. Those are the people that usually are don't have the deepest pockets, and those are the blue-collar residents of Revere. And then you go down to the commercial side, and their increase is pretty similar to a two-family or multifamily. You know, I think that scale should be tipped a little bit. I think that the increase in revenues or the increase in assessments should be the flip side. It should be the commercial revenues that have an increase in assessment more than the single families, to help offset, to maybe pay for some of the things like we're talking about with tax exemptions, residential tax exemptions, et cetera. And I know, you know, using Patriot Property and using the assessment tools, it's easy to look at a sale of a single-family home or a multifamily home and say, you just bought a house for $700,000, and then the next year their tax bill goes up. I mean, they know that. They willingly bought a $700,000 house that may have been formerly assessed for $450,000. So they know that, and they should know that going into their tax. But I'm looking at, it made me do some research because I just heard of a huge sale in Revere. And I think you probably know, 500 Ocean sold for $158 million. Now, granted, that just sold, but their prior assessment was $77 million. So 500 Ocean sold for $158 million last month or the month before, and, you do the average on the amount of units there are in there, so it gives you some sort of an average.
Right, so that's two adjustments
Right.
away. So this year, they're over
So-
100 million, and then next year, it'll be closer. But the thing on those is, it's an income and expense and capitalization method, so
But what I'm saying
the
is-
sales analysis is a little different.
What I'm saying is clearly the assessment will have to change, and I hope next year it will. But then I went back and looked at, the one that stuck on my head was Amquip, because I used to see them in South Boston. They bought the site in Revere. They bought it for $12.4 million in 2016. We assessed it at $2.6 million.
That's only one parcel, there's multiple parcels, so they're up to around $10 million.
So their
I
total
believe.
assessment's up to $10 million? All
Off the top of my head.
right, I was only able to see that.
It's multiple
And then just
parcels.
going down the list, and again, I don't want to, this isn't me trying to, I just looked at a lot of the sites. Wonderland Ballrooms, Lido is only subject to $2.5 million assessment.
They're around 6 million now.
They were at $6 million. So what
What
I'm able to see, so as a layman's, what I'm able to see is I'd love to compare notes, so I don't want to put you on the spot. but-
Let's not compare notes tonight, okay?
Right, so, but what I would say is, I would like to see, and I think that everyone on this council would love to see, the commercial assessments be much more in line and quick to be verified, just like the single-family home sales, just like the multifamily home sales, because if the homeowner's gonna pay for it, you're damn right, the commercial side should as well. Thank you.
Before I move on, I didn't get the single-family number. What was that?
Assessment is 12.4 and tax bill is 264.
264?
Yes.
Okay. Council Vice President Visconti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Councilor Keefe really mentioned a lot of my concerns regarding the apartments and the commercial residential, let's say the apartments, these large-scale apartments, how I feel as though they're under-assessed, and we're missing that revenue. And that's really my biggest concern here, because like Councilor Keefe said, I think it would offset some of the residential. And when you see a property like 500 Ocean Ave assessed half of what it's sold for, it's alarming, and I think we're missing some revenue there. And, you know, we can go down, you know, 50 Ocean Ave, assessed for 9.6, 90 Ocean Ave for 11. I think.
Those are partially complete numbers, so the numbers now are much higher.
Okay.
For fiscal
I'm just going
22.
by what's on Patriot
Yeah, so
property.
those are all last year's assessments.
Yeah. Yeah, so, we were, I guess that's my major concern here, and, it's about time that we try to get some relief to the residents of,
Yeah, it's
of the city.
certainly something we review every single year. And again, any sale that happens today is 2 adjustments away. The challenge we have when, you know, sales of apartments or commercial, there's other things behind that. So, you know, when these huge institutional investors are purchasing these properties, you know, they're paying a premium, they're paying an investment value, you know, they're playing the long-term game. Particularly in the case of 500 Ocean Ave, was an institutional investor who had $1 billion to spend this year. So they're kind of just throwing money around. So sometimes it doesn't really represent the true value of the property as based by the income and expense approach, which we're bound by law to assess those properties for.
Point of information.
But they'll certainly see some sizable increases.
Point of information, Mr.
State your
Real
point.
quick. I understand what you're saying there, and you're right, there's some irrational spending, but the same thing could be said for the single-family and the
That's right.
multifamily housing market.
Right, but that's one sale. Single-family houses, I have 300 sales of those a year. So the ones that are crazy, like I said, where we weed out the kind of wacky sales to come up with the arm's length sales, you know, if there's one crazy one and one crazy low one that doesn't make sense, we pull those out.
Point of information, Mr. President.
Time out. Are you finished, Council
set.
Vice
Thank you.
President? Okay. I got Morabito up next. Council Morabito. What statement? Did you have a point of information?
I did, I just wanted to, you know, make people understand and reflect on the fact that 500 Ocean Ave was supposed to be a $500 million waterfront project. So just understand that that's probably part and parcel of this issue.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Council Morabito.
Thank you, Mr. President. What percentage of the residential property values make up the assessed taxable value of all the properties?
86%.
86. So
I mean,
when conducting the revaluation of properties in our city, did you see a specific increase in a specific ward?
It was pretty consistent this year through all wards. So it wasn't really one that stuck out more than the other. The increases were pretty consistent throughout the city.
Okay, thank you.
Council Sereno.
Thank you, Mr.
Are
President.
you in?
Am I
Go
good?
with that. Yeah, Council
I'm
Sereno's
good?
up.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank the Board of Assessors for being up here tonight, and I know that you guys are kind of just doing your job in terms of how you're figuring the numbers, but I just have to say, and I kind of agree with Councilor Keefe and Councilor Visconti, you know, when we discuss large-scale commercial development of apartment buildings, one of the things that we're sold on is that they're supposed to help bring down the tax bracket or the tax rate for the average family home, the 1- and 2-family homes. And, you know, we have a lot of buildings in the works coming forward too. And I just think it's about time that we start to see that flip and see the single families and the 2 families really starting to reap the benefits of, you know, of that vision. And we're not seeing that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor. You have an answer for that, or?
I mean, it may not seem like it, but you are, right? If those buildings didn't exist, then the resulting taxes would be higher, right? So it may not seem like we're realizing the benefits of this, you know, growth, but we are, and it's also allowing our levy to increase, and that in turn allows us to provide better services, you know, for the city.
And hire a lot more people, yeah. Council McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dana, I agree with Councilor Keefe. I think that the single-family owner should be less their taxes should be less. One of the things I hear from my residents is taxes, traffic, parking. We just raised the water bill, and we're raising the taxes on the single-family house. I mean, we're pushing people out of Revere. We really are. People can't afford it anymore. We have to come to some conclusion that we have to give, we have to find a discount somewhere for these people to keep them here, because everybody's leaving. And it's, people that have raised their kids here, they're leaving because they can't afford it. So that's what I've been hearing, so I just want to pass that on. I know you hear it too.
I know, we come every year, or really every day, right, with a bearer of bad news, because it's taxes, but, the other thing to understand is we don't control the taxes. We're analyzing the market, and we're repeating that in valuations. That's what we're doing. The result of the taxes is part of a much larger calculation, through the levy and in the budget and all that good stuff. But obviously, we're here. We're the bearer of the news, so we're happy to break it down the best we can.
This is why you get the big bucks. Council Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Chairman, correct me if I'm wrong. Several years ago, and not too long ago, the properties that we're talking about where these apartments are, many of them were owned by DCR at one point, if I'm correct. We were getting no tax revenue whatsoever.
Correct.
Now, with the buildings similar to 500 Ocean Avenue, these were parking lots that were bringing in, even when people own them, minimal amounts of money, okay? Weed-infested parking lots. And now we're seeing buildings going up down there that are bringing additional revenue into the city. Good revenue, I would think, on $158 million when that's fully maximized. Am I correct?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. And another question that comes to mind, we just built 2 brand-new hotels. They're operational in the city right now. One is across from Suffolk Downs, and one is the Avid on Squire Road. Have we seen, because of the pandemic, a drop in the 6% room excise tax or the 0.75% meal and beverage tax all throughout the city, as a matter of fact, on that tax? And if those buildings were operating as we had predicted and hoped and will again someday, that's going to bring in more additional revenue to the city. Am I correct?
Right, you're correct, and that is a portion of the overall contribution to the tax rate, and balancing the budget is other permitting fees and room and meals tax that you're talking
Exactly,
about.
permitting fees, building, electrical, plumbing, whatever the case may be. So that's all additional revenue coming into the city. And my hope is that someday soon, the tax rate in this city, if not decreased, the tax paid, because the rate is, on the based on the assessments, that we'll be able to have a budget that shows no increases with regard to taxes because of this development that's going on in the city. Is that a fair assumption?
Certainly a day I'd love to see as well, Counselor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. Before I move on to my colleague from Ward 3, my colleague over here mentioned Tom Ambrosino. I think he deserves some credit because he spent 12 years, and I spent it alongside of him, trying to get that property transferred from DCR and make this whole thing work. So he deserves credit for that. And since you mentioned it, I wanted to give him a little credit.
Ira, myself, John Powers.
Councilor Guanasso.
You hear that, Tommy? He's coming to Chelsea, so he was looking for an apartment or something. Mr. President, there's 5 categories that are shown here in the assessor's listing, but I think we ought to have a new listing in there. It's called Airbnb, because they drive money. They're, in effect, are a commercial property, and they're increasing that 12.39% rate that we're getting there. And so what astonished me, for many, many years, we've always been told wait for the new growth. The new growth is going to reduce or lower our taxes. Well, for God's sakes, you can't have any more new growth than we have now. They'll be building the median strips on the highway. I mean, so I think we've reached our capacity with new growth somewhat, but I still see on board other plans in the future. But with all this potential revenue coming in, I still feel that we're on the high side, because we always heard from our cousins over in Everett how with Monsanto and all those groups there when they were there, and they always had a pretty nice tax rate. And once we get all this stuff over here in Revere, it would be lowered. Well, we have more than we even anticipated, and we're still driving a high rate, which is kind of discouraging, because to tax the single homeowner so high is really unfair. And I think that somehow or other, we have to adjust this formula, because it's not in balance. When a 12.4 rate is for single and 9.84 for commercial, it doesn't seem fair. So I just think maybe come up with a new solution, or maybe get rid of me. You won't have this question anymore, but you're going to get that results. But I think that's fair. The citizens of our city are really struggling, some of them, to meet their financial needs and to support their families as they should, you know. And so we ought to look for avenues how we can help them out. And I think one is lowering that rate, which is drastic. So thank you, Mr. President, and just take it as an advisement.
Thank you. Before I thank you and your worthy assessors for being up here and all the hard work they do, you're taking all the tough questions. And I half kiddingly said we got to stop hiring, but I really meant it. There are some jobs that don't need to be filled, and that's only a personal opinion. But so if I don't have any other counselors, I thank you for your
Thank you.
efforts.
We have to accept the rate, right?
Positively. Madam Clerk.
Roll call?
Shall the City Council approve the establishment of the minimum residential factor for the purpose of adopting the fiscal year 2022 tax rate? Councilor Janino?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Keefe?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Morbido?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Powers?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Rotundo?
No.
No, Councilor Sereno?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Visconti?
Yes.
Yes, and Council President Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes, the minimum residential factor has been adopted. Calendar item number 4, hearing called as ordered on the parity salary ordinance.
Mr. CFO.
Good evening, Council. Richard Viskey, CFO, 281 Broadway. Before you tonight is language for the parity ordinance that has been passed by this council much before my time here. But basically, our management union and our clerical union, also known as Unit A and Unit B, have settled their contracts for fiscal years 22, 23, and 24. With that, once adopted and signed and executed, it's the practice to come back and ask for parity for those that are not represented by the union contract, pretty much the exempt employees of the city. It's my understanding that the elected officials have a wait period because of the election, so this would just be handling those employees that aren't elected. And happy to answer any questions on that. Thank you.
So again, I forgot to say public hearing proponents, but obviously you're a proponent. Any other proponents? Hearing and seeing none, we'll close that side of the hearing. Any opponents? People opposed to this parity ordinance? Hearing and seeing none, we'll close that side of the hearing. Any counselors? Council Vice President Visconti.
Thank you. Do we have a copy of the parity schedule for those salaries? Has that been, I didn't see it in the packet, so.
Honestly, we'd wait probably for the approval of the parity, and then we would update the schedule. We're working off of 2021 schedules, so I could have given you, I guess, a pro forma one with those rates, but they don't want to be too presumptuous, but we can certainly provide you with that for sure. But it's, basically, it's the same 3% that the union's got, so it's a flat 3% on existing salaries.
Okay. And there's no other, it's just a flat 3%, no new steps or anything like that, that are
Well,
granted for
most
other
of the
positions?
exempt people don't have steps. We're basically salaried employees, so we don't get a lot of the different types of steps and such. So for the most part, it's a 3%. There's some other language in there, but a lot of it isn't salary related.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Counselor Rotundo?
Through you, Mr. President. Mr. Viskey, thank you for your attention. Question, do union employees, for example, those that are employed at the DPW, or for that matter at the police department, my understanding is that they also do get the education benefit as well, salary benefit?
Yeah, the DPW workers work off a separate collective bargaining agreement, and the police, both patrolmen and the superiors have their own collective bargaining agreement, as well as the firefighters. So we have 7 collective bargainings in the city, but the public safety and the DPW workers are still under negotiations. But we have settled the management and the clerical and hourly workers of the
Managerial
city.
do get the education
The
bonus, correct?
The managerial prior to 2017 followed the education benefit that existed. After that, it doesn't exist. However, in part of the union contract that was negotiated with the management, what we did this year, which didn't exist before, instead of being one set salary, we've created a range so that we're able to actually negotiate with management without having to come and change the ordinance every single time. So there is a range of salaries now for the management union of the city, and that can account for whether people do or don't have education incentives, because it does create a bifurcated system where, you know, some people have it, some people don't. So we create a salary schedule so that we can account for that in trying to bring in the best managers for the city.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, Ways and Means. Oh. Wait.
Ordinance, it can't be voted on this evening.
Right, it's going to Ways and Means.
Next up is the Committee of the Whole report.
This is Ruben.
Yes. This is calendar item number 9, communication from the mayor relative to the 2021 proposed board and precinct map.
I don't have anything. I think that it was just reported out of the committee of the whole,
Okay,
so I don't
so-
think I'm presenting
So
anything.
we're reporting this out
Yeah.
unfavorably. I have a feeling that might change. However, Counselor Novoselsky.
Mr. President, if I may, I'd like to make a statement. I know I was one of the biggest opponents to the re-precincting in the city, but I know what this means to the city, and I don't want the state coming in and telling us how we should make our district lines. And so I would say, let's vote for the best-case scenario that we have in front of us right now. However, I will be contacting Senator Markey and Congresswoman Clark, asking that the Census Bureau investigate this and their procedures. Not necessarily a criminal investigation, but as a study to see how they can improve their processes moving forward. Any of my colleagues that would like to sign on to this letter with me, I welcome with open arms, and I think we ought to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Sereno.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to say that, you know, for the first time in 2 years, I will be changing my vote from how I voted in subcommittee to how I'm voting tonight. At the very end of last week's subcommittee meeting, I think it was Thursday night, all the days kind of meld together these days, but at the end of that subcommittee meeting, after we took the vote, representatives from the state or representatives from one of the attorneys or somebody got up to speak regarding how that if the city does not accept this, the Secretary of State's office will determine the lines of the wards and precincts. And in one of those scenarios, which they had already drawn their own version of the re-precincting maps, somewhere like the Point of Pines would have been split up. And, you know, I don't want to leave that to chance, and I agree with Councilor Novoselsky. Fundamentally, I still believe that the census numbers are inaccurate with some respect, but we're not voting on the census numbers, we're voting on the re-precincting maps. And for the sake of the city, I will be voting for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Rotundo.
Thank you. Through you, and Ruben, this has nothing to do with you, your department, or anything like that. This is something that I think the entire council learned, that the census has a policy and procedure, and I think that people should understand why the council is changing its decision based upon what took place. Is that, as crazy as it sounds, the Census Bureau does allow for people to be allocated, or shall I be more blunt, counted individually in places that they feel safe, whether it be a park, a school, a lumber yard, which is all what we found. Mckinley School, I believe it was 95 people. I believe over at an auto bottle place, it was 60-something. So this caused us great concern on many levels. Then the other thing that we reflected on afterwards, speaking with the attorney that is representing the making of the district lines, or the redistricting, is that part of the Point of Pines would be cut in half, but also the other aspect of it is that Ward 3 and Ward 6 would mesh in a way that would be unfair to Councilor-elect Cogliandro, as well as to Councilor Serino. And it would be pretty much gerrymandering the entire city of Revere for no unsound reason. And then I forgot the map maker's name, who eloquently pointed out why this was done and so forth, and why we should accept the state version.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will be supporting this plan. As we had a meeting at the Committee of the Whole, okay? And what it does for me and the people that I represent is it takes the area out where the high school is, puts it into another ward. I lose many constituents up there, good constituents, good friends, but I think this is the right thing to do. And I do pick up some other areas, so what will happen is the Point of Pines, Oak Island, Lower Revere Street, as was originally years ago, Ward 5, will now be included in part of Revere Street up to the Broadway line, okay? And I think that's a good move. It brings us all closer together, and it gives people a better understanding of what ward they're in. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. Council Vice President Visconti.
Thank you, Mr. President. Like my colleagues have said, while these Committee of the Whole meetings have been pretty informative and surprising, obviously, I don't feel comfortable leaving it in the state's hands. So while I'm still alarmed about the results of this re-precincting, I am going to change my vote as well in favor of it, only because I don't want to leave it in the state's hands. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. I think that a lot of us, for the first time in 22 years, I'm changing a vote that I made in subcommittee. But the one thing that I said the other night is that I have less confidence in the federal government now. And that's I'm dead serious about that, that they can stick people anywhere they want, imaginary people, is not to sit well with me. However, obviously, we don't want the state to try to draw these lines for us. And so that's why I'm changing my vote. First time in 22 years, but even I can change my vote once. Madam Clerk?
On the roll call, shall the city council go on record as approving the updated 2021 ward and precinct map for the city of Revere as submitted by the mayor and the city of Revere's re-precincting committee? Counselor Janino?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Keefe?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Morbido?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Rotundo?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Sereno?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Visconti?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Sambudo?
Yes.
Yes, the map has been approved. Back to the regular order of business.
Back to the regular order of business.
Calendar item number 3, hearing called as ordered on a joint petition submitted by National Grid and Verizon to relocate one jointly owned pole 2222 on Albert Ave, 15 feet southwest along Albert Avenue, and install an anchor to the northeast.
We have someone from National Grid here? As we forgot you at the last meeting, we apologize, and so now we'll solve this. Name and address, please, for the record.
So my name is Patrick Yagubian. I'm a contracting engineer for National Grid with White House Engineering at 550 Cochituate Way in Framingham, Massachusetts. So yeah, we need to relocate this pole. It's going to be used as part of it's going to feed the Suffolk Downs subdivision or a commercial customer on Tomasello Way or off of Tomasello Way. Moving the pole 15 feet would allow us to properly guide the pole. There's going to be dead-end three-phase conductors on there. So the 15 feet will allow for enough guy length to support the pole so that way it doesn't fall down in a storm.
So that's it, correct?
Yes.
This is a public hearing, so any other proponents? Hearing and seeing none, we're going to close that side of the hearing. Any opponents? Hearing and seeing none, we're going to close that side of the hearing. Any councilors?
Mr. President.
Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a clarification. It's being moved 15 feet closer to the intersection?
Yes.
Okay, so you'll have underground, you have to do underground piping?
Yes.
From that point down to the manhole?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. On the motion, all in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Thank you.
Calendar item number 6, hearing called as ordered on an ordinance repealing section 2.03.050E of the revised ordinances of the city of Revere relative to meeting times of governmental bodies.
Proponents, people in favor. Hearing and seeing none, we're going to close that side of the hearing. Opponents, people opposed?
One person on record received email opposition, Loretta LaCentra for the record.
Okay, on the record. Any other opponents? Hearing and seeing none, we're going to close that side of the hearing. Any city councilors? Councilor Janino.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wasn't going to speak on this, but I've been thinking about it, and now I want to. Just for some clarification on why this has come about. The original motion of the councilor was incredibly well-intended. I think when this was put in, it was to increase accessibility. We understand people work. We understand that. We want to make it so that city meetings are easier for people to get to, whether they're working a 9 to 5 or any other schedule. But the reality of it is people in the city don't just work 9 to 5s. They work all different shifts and different schedules. And I can tell you from experience, when I first got on the city council 10 years ago, I've had a full-time job the entire time I've been up here until I got elected to the State House. So I've been constantly juggling a full-time work schedule, as Councilor Keefe and as many other councilors that sit up here today. So we understand where that's coming from. But I will just speak to you as a chairperson for a subcommittee. I had to wait 3 months to get a subcommittee meeting for my public safety committee because when you limited the meetings to 5 o'clock, we only have 1 hour to conduct city business on certain days. So every single Monday was getting filled up with zoning and ways and means and zoning and ways and means and the more important committees that took precedent over things like public safety. So because of the new ordinance, although it was incredibly well-intended, I couldn't have a meeting for public safety, and Councilor Morabito's motion sat in my committee tied up for months. And when I tried to have it on off days, because when people got elected to this position, they took Mondays and they made their schedule around Mondays, I couldn't get a quorum on other weekdays to hold those subcommittee meetings. So although it's incredibly well-intended, and I think it definitely is important that we're watching this, I think it's more important that city business gets conducted. So I just think we need to come up with a solution that is both, appropriate and making sure that our residents have accessibility, whether that means allowing, remote participation for people that need it. I think that was really helpful when we had that. So if someone was working or someone had a commitment, they could still partake. If they didn't have childcare, those are all things we need to keep in mind. However, I don't think it's acceptable that I had to wait months and months and months to have a public safety committee meeting, and that important piece of legislation for the city had to sit for so long. So that's just my 2 cents. I get both sides. I don't know what the solution is. I hope we can talk it through, but there's pros and cons to this.
Thank you, Counselor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have a question. Who put this in?
Me.
Oh, okay, because there was no name on it as a
Oh,
motion.
I'm
or
sorry.
anything like
Was
that.
my name wasn't on there? It was
Your
on
name was on the initial motion.
the original motion,
and-
my name was
okay.
on, but this is a public hearing, so my
Okay.
name wouldn't be on it.
Okay.
Counselor Sereno.
Thank you.
And we know you have great intentions, and nobody is singling you out.
No, I.
Please don't think I took a shot at you.
I know. Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to respond to my dear friend, Councilor Janino's points. I understand what she is saying, that there tends to be, there has been a backlog of subcommittee meetings, but what I would argue is that this is two things. The argument is that, one, we can't get a quorum on another night, which I don't tend to agree with, but the other argument was that a lot of other boards and commissions use the council chambers to hold their meetings, and that's why it's hard for a councilor to reserve the council chamber on an off night that the council isn't meeting. And I think, going forward, maybe we need to have more public meeting space. I know that we have the community room in the police station and whatnot. I know other towns, they don't just use their city hall or town hall for public meetings, but I think, and no offense to any other, public body, but I think our public body and our chamber should take precedence over any others. So I think that issue should be dealt with if we're talking about trying to schedule a meeting. And, with regard to not getting a quorum, I think if a meeting were after 5 p.m. on another night, you would still be able to get councilors, maybe not everybody on a given committee, but I think you should be able to get some. So again, this is something that I do feel strongly about, and I will not be voting to repeal it. Thank you,
We will not be voting on this tonight anyway. However, you are correct. This is the city council chamber, and we should take precedent. But we're just looking for some flexibility here, and I think hopefully we'll work this out in committee. If there's no other councilors, ledger fears.
Calendar item number 7, hearing called as ordered on the application of 465 Revere Beach Boulevard Realty Trust, 24 Bellingham Ave, seeking permission from the Revere City Council to modify and alter an existing non-conforming 5-unit apartment structure by establishing an additional 9 units to enable the appellant to develop a 14-unit apartment structure with 17 off-street parking spaces on lots 5A and B at 465 Revere Beach Boulevard.
Public hearing, proponents.
Mr. President, if I could just hand to the clerk some handouts to be reviewed at this time. When you're ready, I can start.
Do you want to wait till the handouts are handed out, or?
Okay. It would probably be best.
Yeah, so we'll hold for a couple minutes. You certainly did have a few handouts, didn't you? 3. Okay, Counselor, continue.
Mr. President, my name is Attorney Larry Simeone, and I represent 465 Revere Beach Boulevard Realty Trust. Now, 465 Revere Beach Boulevard Realty Trust is owned by 3 residents of the city of Revere, and they're with me this evening. They're right here. They're Revere residents. They've owned this property for many years. And so what they're looking to work with this honorable commission and office to attempt to improve their property. So the individuals to seek a special permit in accordance with 1740-030B to alter a non-conforming structure. The particular structure in mind, and this is the structure we should all be looking at. This is the 5-unit building, 465 Revere Beach Boulevard. This particular building is a 5-unit building constructed in 1939. It sits on Lot 5B and 5A and B. It's in the RC1 district, which allows apartments by right. It is 10,715 square feet, and it has 46.5 feet of frontage. The 5-unit multi-family building was constructed in 1939 and presently has, I believe, two bedrooms and 3 one-bedrooms. The proposal before you, if you look at the site plan, that we submitted to you, and we attached it as Exhibit A, it's site plan 465 Revere Beach Boulevard, submitted by Engineering Alliance, dated October 18th. This particular plan shows an expansion of the existing structure approximately 22 feet in width into 98 feet in length. In that area, my clients propose to construct additional units. In their initial proposal, they thought we'd be able to do 9, but after looking at it, they pared it back to 8 units. Each unit in the RC1 district, if you're a 1-bedroom, it's 1.5 off-street parking requirement, and if you're a 2-bedroom, it's 1.75. The site plan allows us 17 off-street parking spaces. So the proposal before you would not meet the off-street parking requirement, and I thought that would be an appropriate position to begin the conversation with a subcommittee. There's no question in my mind that as I've looked at the numbers, we can come up with a proposal that will meet the off-street parking requirement. As I said, we have 17 off-street parking units. That would allow my clients some expansion, some reasonable expansion to this building that their family has owned for many, many years. When you look at the views that I showed you of the existing building, as you can see in view number 1, that's the existing building. View number 2 is the proposed 3-story, 8 units that we'd like to add. Now, again, everybody has a different view of what is architecturally tasteful, but this gives us a beginning point to discuss this and to go with committee. The thing that I can't help to tell this honorable body is that these are Revere residents, and I honestly think that what they're asking for is very legitimate. When you look at the site plan that I've submitted to you, you're going to see this is their building. This is their residence, 465. The building next to it is 459 to 461. That building has 59 units and has, I think, 90 parking spaces. And I've presented that building to you as part of your package. This building will dwarf my client's 5-unit building. And it is smacked up right against it. This building, 459 to 461, is a by right building. Now, the only thing they did that was unusual is that they didn't use traditional parking. They used the mechanical parking to meet the off-street parking requirement. So when you look at this particular neighborhood, which is now going to change dramatically because of 459 to 461, then I honestly tell this body that I don't think the small expansion, the reasonably small expansion that my clients would like to their 5-family home would be so outrageous. And we're looking forward to go to subcommittee. When you look at the 3-story structure proposed in the rear of the 5-unit building, on level 1, there'll be units 1, 2, and 3. On level 2, there'll be units 4, 5, and 6. And in level 3, we'll have units 7 and 8. Unit 4 is a 2-story building. So I have talked about this with my clients. We're very flexible, and we're looking forward to go to subcommittee.
Great, Counselor. I think you can save the rest of it for subcommittee, and you definitely made your case for why it's not offensive next to this gigantic building.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Any other proponents? People in favor? Hearing and seeing none, we'll close that side of the hearing. Any opponents? People opposed? Hearing and seeing none, we'll close that side of the hearing. Councilors, Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've known the Giuffre family all my life. They have deep roots in the Beachmont community still to this day. They're a good family, and I'd like to see them succeed with the project before us. I just have a couple of questions, though, for
Go right ahead.
Larry Simeone. Is there any way that the Giuffre family can modify the building to aesthetically comply to the neighborhood? Because you have a neighborhood with 2-family houses, normal 2-family houses, and then you're going to put this, you're going to have this, still, this 2-family, 5-unit house, and then in the back is going to be this modern construction. Is there any way that they can comply aesthetically to the neighborhood to keep the neighborhood the same?
Right. I think that's something that we're willing to do. I think it would be great. We'd like to, we like the design of the old building, and maybe we can find something that would have that type of motif. I mean, in this particular area, it used to be an area where you had 1- and 2-family homes, but as you can see, we've got this 60-unit building next to my clients. Then you have a 1-family, and then you have what amounts to be as the breakers. So life is changing at this section. But to answer your question, yes, I think we should be able to come up with an aesthetic-looking building that better fits this particular area.
And a great example is the Atlantic, I don't know, the Atlantica?
Yes.
I mean, that's perfect. That would be perfect to go with the neighborhood instead of putting, this modern architectural design there with a basic house in front of it. That's just one of my concerns. The other concern is the wetlands behind the house.
This building, if approved in its present location, will still be within the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission, and we'll need an order of conditions for the parking. Thank you.
Counselor Janino.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll save my comments for the subcommittee meeting, which I look forward to discussing this further, but I just want to say, you know, when you look at the development of the beach and what's happened over the last 10 years, it's all been outside developers. So to have a Revere family that's here that wants to improve our community that they live in, I think it's worth the conversation. So I look forward to discussing it in committee.
Thank you.
Great. Council Vice President Visconti.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just one question. The lot size on the subject?
10,715 square feet.
Okay, what's the dimensions across and down?
It's 40, the three lots, it's 40 foot of, 46 foot of frontage on lot number 5, which extends from the boulevard deep into the lot, and then there's two lots, Lot A and B. And they are much wider, and as you can see when you take the left, if you will, that dog-leg left, that's where the parking is going to be, and it's also going to be under the building. I mean, there's parking under the building. That's how we meet the 17 spaces that we're proffering to meet a small project.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Powers.
Mr. President, I'll reserve my comments for subcommittee. Thank you.
Zoning.
Thank you.
Calendar item number 8, hearing called is ordered on the application of Marie Telfort at 23 Hyde Street, seeking permission from the Revere City Council to alter and extend a nonconforming use and structure to enable the appellant to reconstruct the existing nonconforming three-family structure which was destroyed by a fire in June of 2021 at 23 Hyde Street.
This is a public hearing. Proponents. Boy, you're making a lot of money tonight, Counselor.
I still have to work by the hour, so anyway.
Do you want to make
Good
that call
evening,
an hour
Mr.
later?
Mr. President and members of the Honorable City Council. This evening, I represent Marie Telfort. She's a resident of the city of Revere and has been a resident for many years. And unfortunately, in June of 2021, her three-family home that was constructed in 1900 suffered a significant fire loss. And so we're before you at the direction of the Site Plan Review Committee to provide special permit request to modify and alter a non-conforming structure in accordance with 1740-030B and to expand a non-conforming use in accordance with 1740-020A. 23 Hyde Street is in the RB district. It sits on Lot 5B, which is 3,135 square feet, has 25 foot of frontage on Hyde Street. And as I said, it was a three-family home. It was built in 1900, and so therefore it's a non-conforming use. We've proposed, in order to rehab this structure, additional exterior rear stairs, which I'm going to hand out to you, Mr. President, for the future use of the members. Madam Clerk. So those particular plans, Mr. President, those are the plans. They're just bigger and easier to look at. And I've highlighted the areas where we're expanding and doing stuff so the council could look at it. But what you'll see is that we're expanding the stairs on the third level. So we're doing a rear deck and new stairs, and we're replacing the stairs in the basement with a bulkhead, and we're replicating the entire third floor. This is what the building looked like at the time of the fire. Madam Clerk, so for the record, I just wanted to show them what the building looked like. Gentlemen, ladies. Terrific. So I have with me Manny Tavares of Tavares Architects if you have any questions, or we can bring those questions into subcommittee with a little more detail.
I think at this point, Counselor, you know, we'll go to subcommittee.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Yeah,
President.
I think we're good. Counselor McKenna?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is my ward. I talked to Frank Stringy. He sees nothing, there's no height elevation.
1 minute.
Sorry. Opponents.
So, are there any other proponents? I'm sorry. Hearing and seeing none, we're going to close that side of the hearing. Any opponents, people opposed? Hearing and seeing none, we're going to close that side of the hearing. Now, Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this is my ward, and I talked to Frank Stringy before I heard this in front of me, and he said there's no height restrictions. There are added stairs in the back for egress, but other than that, it's pretty simple. The only thing is, I would like to talk to the construction.
The architect?
The architect? Oh, it's the architect. Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you. No.
We'll get any of those details in
No,
subcommittee.
that's all right. Thank you.
No, she's looking for the construction person, so we'll do that in subcommittee. Any other councilors? Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you, Mr. President. To the Telford family, I'm sorry for what you're going through. My understanding, you've been here since 2000, thereabouts. And you know, with that said, I'm thankful for what Joe Clean has done for you in that process there. I hope that we can do this as speedy as possible so to get you back in your home. And again, I am terribly sorry for what you went through, and you have my vote.
Zoning.
Next up is the zoning subcommittee report.
Chairman Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. We had a hearty meeting this evening, and there were a few recommendations that will be coming out. The first two items, Madam Clerk, those were asked to be moved forward or pushed to December 6th. The C-21-13 and C-21-14 will be moved to December 6th, so there's no action taken on those two. C-21-15, T-Mobile Northeast. That was reported out favorably with recommendations from the council. It was reported out 4-1, I believe. Yep. And that was with the removal of the generator on Central Ave.
Okay, we'll take a vote on that as amended.
Shall the city council grant the relief requested by the petitioner to install a wireless communications facility to include 9 rooftop-mounted antennas and related equipment at 385 Broadway? This shall exclude the installation of a generator. Councilor Janino?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Keefe?
No.
No. Councilor McKenna?
No.
No. Councilor Morbido?
No.
No. Councilor Novoselsky?
No.
No. Councilor Powers?
No.
No. Councilor Rotundo?
Nope.
No. Councilor Sereno?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Visconti?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Sambudo?
Yes.
Yes, the relief requested has been denied.
Okay, move on.
Next, the next item, C-21-16, was voted out favorably with some conditions, as well as an amendment by myself and Councilor Visconti.
On the roll,
Would she need to read the amendments, or?
as amended.
Mr. Chairman, point of order. Mr. President, point of order.
Rule
Who's asking
19.
for the point?
Rule 19. Only a
You can't have a
councilor.
point of order, sir. We're in a roll call here.
Shall the City Council grant the relief requested, subject to the findings and conditions of site plan review in the zoning subcommittee? Counselor Janino?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Keith?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Morbido?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Rotundo?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Sereno?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Visconti?
Yes.
Yes, and Council President Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes, the special permit has been granted.
Mr. President?
Mr. President, I just want to make sure that the committee includes the findings that we proposed and adopted. It's really important.
Site plan review is included in the.
No, the
is-
draft decision and findings.
The findings are included, yes.
The motion that was read was that the findings and conditions of site plan review and the zoning subcommittee, so whatever was presented at the zoning subcommittee was included.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk, for
President?
the clarity.
Counselor Janino,
On suspension of rules?
Counselor Janino?
On suspension of rules?
On suspension of rules, all in favor, all opposed, so ordered.
Reconsideration with hopes that it does not prevail.
Reconsideration, so it not prevail.
President, I believe there's someone in the audience that wishes to address the council.
You want to say something, it's not going to, change the vote.
Sorry, Mr. President, I saw council was allowed to clarify what exactly was being voted, so I figured I might.
He was asking if the items that were presented at the subcommittee. He was asking if the items that were presented before the subcommittee were included, which they all were.
I was going to make the same point of order, Mr. President.
Okay.
Just what exactly is being voted on, because there were statements towards the end of the last hearing about
So
specific.
here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let the clerk read exactly what was voted on, okay?
Thank you, Mr.
All
President.
right. Sorry.
Copy tomorrow, and there's no need to go over.
The
this
decision would be
Sorry,
mailed
but-
to the abutter, you know
Yeah.
that. So, but we'll do this extraordinary thing and read it.
When the decision is prepared within 14 days, then yes, they'll be presented with that. The abutters will receive it in, Mass General laws. The findings as presented to the zoning subcommittee. The project is located in the Technology Enterprise District in accordance with Revere zoning map and Revere revised ordinances. 2, the property Lot A Railroad Street consists of 1,787 square feet of land with a nonconforming commercial multiple-use structure consisting of 11,700 square feet thereon. 3, the property's address is 44 Railroad Street. The property has frontage of 100 feet on Railroad Street, a public way. The property is presently serviced by municipal water and sewer, as well as electricity and gas. 4, revised site plan 44 Railroad Street, parcel ID 7-211-3A, Revere, Massachusetts, prepared by Engineering Alliance, 194 Central Street, Saugus, Mass. 01906, dated September 27, 2021, establishes the accepted proposed changes with respect to the original site plan. 5, applicant's changes accepted to the special permit conditions set forth in the city council decision. New language is bold and underlined. Condition number 2, to be changed as follows: the parking lot shall be cleared of all truck and trailers and shall be striped for 39 parking spots, including 4 spaces for handicap parking. Condition number 3, to be changed as follows: the site shall include pavement markings for the designated driveway entrance for two-way traffic, including pavement marking arrows showing traffic circulation within parking lot in accordance with the revised site plan 44 Railroad Street, parcel ID 7-211-3A, Revere, Massachusetts, dated September 27, 2021. Condition number 6 to be changed as follows. Fencing, a minimum of 10 feet in height with an entrance booth shall be installed substantially as shown on the revised site plan, 44 Railroad Street, parcel ID 7-211-3A, Revere, Massachusetts, dated September 27th, 2021. Condition number 7, the site shall be appropriately illuminated, including all entrances to the building, parking lot, and entrance driveways. Illumination shall be provided by attached floodlights to the building and freestanding light poles to be provided on the revised site plan, 44 Railroad Street, parcel ID 7-211-3A, Revere, Massachusetts, dated September 27th, 2021. Condition 8 to be changed as follows. Both interior and exterior security cameras shall be installed at the site in accordance with the Cannabis Control Commission and the Revere Police Department requirements. 5, the project is in harmony with other commercial uses in the zoning district as the general purpose and intent of the zoning ordinance wherein A, the project facilities will not impede light, air, and space to adjoining properties. B, the project facilities will not overcrowd or have any effect on the density of existing parcel and buildings thereon. C, said project facilities shall remain within the existing multiple-use building and the site. And D, the approval of this use will allow Wellness Connection of Massachusetts, Inc. and Gunner Holdings, LLC to improve the condition of the property and therefore benefit the public at large in the community. 6, the property is an appropriate location for the following reasons. A, the property is located in the TED district, which allows for the request of this special permit. B, the property has a non-conforming commercial multiple-use structure similar to the zoning district, which has various commercial non-conforming structures in the neighborhood. And C, the proposed use can exist at the property without impeding the normal use of the property or surrounding property. 7, that the property has adequate public storage and water facilities and water systems for the following reasons. A, the project facility is on a public way which has water and sewer services. 8, the project traffic study has also established that based upon a review of volume of new traffic projected to be generated by the project, physical improvements will not be necessary along Railroad Street to accommodate the project traffic. 9, the project traffic study further established that there will be a significant reduction in traffic volume up to 59% over that of the larger marijuana grow facility and dispensary, both of which have been reduced in size and have been approved for construction at the city by the City Council, and that the project will result in less impact on the transportation infrastructure in the district and the neighborhood. 10, the project will not adversely affect the neighborhood for the following reasons. A, the project will not create adverse impact of noise, odor, smoke, or dust. B, the project will not substantially generate commercial traffic or activity. C, the project does not deviate or substantially change the character of this already relative commercial industrial area of the city, which has businesses operating similar fee parking facilities. 11, the project will have a potential fiscal impact consisting of additional jobs, real estate tax revenue, and licensing fees. 12, the project will not cause a nuisance or a serious hazard to motor vehicles or pedestrians using the project facility in that A, the only traffic generated by the project facility will not substantially affect the existing traffic patterns in the neighborhood. 13, adequate and appropriate facilities will be provided in concert with the project for the following reasons. The property is in the TED district. The project, a commercial parking lot, shall complement the economic needs of the area where travel and hospitality industries exist. The project is in harmony with the district, which includes oil storage farms, a disposal and collection company, commercial retail and wholesale uses, hotel, rental car business, and various commercial storage facilities. Also, the current utilities, infrastructure, and roadways meet existing requirements of this industrial and business area. 14, that the project is determined by the City Council to have beneficial effects that outweigh the detrimental effects on the city and the neighborhood in view of the particular characteristics of the property and the project in relation to the property. 1, social, economic, or community needs which are served by the proposal. The project will have no detrimental social impact on the neighborhood or city. The project does not deviate, form, or substantially change the character of this already relative commercial industrial area of the city, which has other businesses operating similar fee parking facilities. The project will advance economic needs by providing jobs and additional municipal revenue, including real estate tax revenue and parking lot licensing fees. The project will address the community need for additional parking. 2, traffic flow and safety. The plans and traffic study demonstrate no adverse effects on traffic flow and no traffic-related safety concerns. There are no general safety concerns given the fencing, manned booth, and surveillance. 3, adequacy of utilities and other public services. Adequate and appropriate utilities already exist at the project site, and the project will not require additional utilities. Snow removal and trash removal will be privately provided. There will be no additional requirements for police, fire, or other public services. The public ways adjacent to the project site are sufficient to support the project. The current infrastructure and roadways handle the existing requirements of this industrial business area for neighborhood character and social structures. The project is in harmony with the other commercial industrial uses in the neighborhood, the zoning district, and with the general purpose and intent of the Revere revised ordinances. This neighborhood currently has a wide gamut of commercial industrial uses. Further approval of the project will allow for the improvement of the condition of the project site and therefore benefit the neighborhood and the general public and community. 5, impacts on the natural environment. There will be no negative impacts on the natural environment from either the construction or operation of the project. There will be no generation or discharge of trash, odor, smoke, dust, dirt, pollutants, or hazardous substances. There will be no disturbance of or discharge into streams, waterways, bodies of water, or environmentally sensitive areas. 6, potential fiscal impact. The project will provide jobs and additional municipal revenue, including real estate tax revenue and parking lot licensing fees. And several conditions had been added to the special permit as follows. 1, the parking lot layout plans shall be reviewed by the fire department with respect to safety codes. 2, a standing accessory sign shall be installed as represented on the revised site plan. The accessory sign shall be a low-profile sign to be approved by the site plan review committee. 3, fencing shall be installed around the perimeter of the commercial lot with a security gate at the commercial parking lot entrance as represented on the revised site plan. 4, the entrance drive shall include signage designating entrance and exit drives at the site. 5, proper illumination shall be provided, including all entrances to the buildings, parking lots, and entrance drives. 6, the site shall include pavement markings for the designated entrance for two-way traffic, including pavement marking arrows showing traffic circulation within the site. 7, a raised planter shall be installed separating the entrance drive from the abutting property, parking lot to the south, and the installation of a permeable paver strip separating the parking lot to the north of the entrance drive. 8, a final landscape plan must be approved by the site plan review committee. 9, the water, sewer, and stormwater management plan must be approved by the city engineer and DPW chief of infrastructure. 10, a final as-built plan, including the location of all parking spaces, fencing, and landscaping plan, must be filed with the site plan review committee prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit. The final as-built plan shall show the location of all utilities within the site, including water, sewer, and drainage. 11, there shall be a shelter installed for the purpose of housing clients utilizing the Park and Fly service. 12, the parking lot and shelter shall be handicap accessible. And 13, a new traffic study shall be presented to site plan review for approval.
Thank you. Next item. You want another bite? Go ahead. I know.
I'm trying to abide by the rules. If you'll hear a point of order.
Well, give me a point of order, but I'm.
Rule 19.
I listened to every word, Mr. President, and there
Yeah.
were findings of fact that were written by counsel for the applicant that are inconsistent with the evidence before the subcommittee and the report of the
All right,
subcommittee.
I've heard enough.
And you're about
Take
to
it to
adopt-
court. I don't want to hear it. Enough.
Point of order, Mr. President.
State your point.
I want to remind the council that a point of order is only exclusive to the council body
I know
itself.
that, and I said I was.
And I'm making the point not for you.
I know you're not, but I allowed the leeway, but now we've gone over the cliff, and we're not going any further. Next order of business, please.
Mr. President, the next piece in front of the city council was CZ-21-04, which was voted not in favor. It was voted 0 to 5, I believe.
Okay, on the second, roll call on the second reading. Madam Clerk?
Yes, this is on the ordinance as presented to the zoning subcommittee, which did not receive a favorable recommendation. So this is on, a yes vote would approve, would want to move the ordinance to the next reading. A no vote would disapprove of the proposed ordinance, okay? Counselor Janino?
No.
No. Counselor Guanasso?
No.
No. Counselor Keefe?
No.
No. Counselor McKenna?
No.
No. Counselor Morabito?
No.
No. Counselor Novoselsky?
No.
No. Counselor Powers?
No.
No. Counselor Rotundo?
No.
No. Counselor Sereno?
No.
No. Counselor Visconti?
No.
No. And Council President Sambudo? No. The proposed ordinance is lost on a roll call.
Mr. President, the last item in front of us tonight was CZ-21-05. This was voted on unanimously in favor. Motion to approve, roll call, Mr. President.
Ordered on a second reading, all in favor, all opposed? Ordered on a third and final reading, all in favor, all opposed? Roll call on engrossment and ordainment.
Shall the City Council approve the zoning map amendment in accordance with the petition on file? Counselor Janino?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Keefe?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Morabito?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Rotundo? Yes. Yes. Counselor Sereno?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Visconti?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes, the zoning amendment has been approved. Calendar item number 18, communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Paul J. Fahey as election commissioner.
Appointments.
Appointments.
Jesus, Tony, wake up.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Councilor Sereno.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for the leeway. I believe this is going to appointments and will likely be heard on December 6th, and I won't be here on December 6th. But I just wanted to say for the council's edification, not many of you may know of Mr. Fahey or know Mr. Fahey. Paul Fahey is being appointed to replace the retiring Diane Colella. I've known Paul working through state government, and he's the utmost professional, a very intelligent man, and I think he will be a phenomenal election commissioner. So I would ask that my colleagues, when you consider him on the 6th, that you will support his appointment. Thank you.
Thank you for the recommendation. I will follow your advice and vote for.
Calendar item number 19, communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Robert Brown to the Commission on Disabilities.
Appointments? Oh, not on that?
Calendar item number 20, communication from the mayor relative to a request for special municipal employee status for the position of ADA coordinator / chair of the Commission on Disabilities.
Appointments.
We have one late motion presented by Councilor Rotundo that the mayor contact the DCR to obtain the proper services for the encampment of homeless living on Diamond Creek between North Shore Road and Ocean Avenue.
Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you, Mr. President. If the clerk could show the photos that I'm talking about. And here's the thing, no one should live like that. What I would hope, and I spoke to Mr. Viscay, that there are some federal fundings to help these people. The issue here is that Diamond Creek right there floods, and I believe John Powers, and if Bob Hass was with us, he could tell us about that because he took a picture down there once during his election campaign. And in fact, this is no way for anybody to live. They're surviving. And I have spoken to a member of SUDI. I don't want to put his name out there at this point, but, you know, the idea is these people are suffering, and we need to do better. We had, former acting mayor Janey tried to stuff people up at a hotel in North Revere near a liquor store, isolated. And we need to handle our own homelessness issue. And I would like to work with our surrounding communities in order to help them and so forth. And in fact, if anybody has mittens, gloves, jackets, and so forth that are warm, please go down to Sudi on Revere Street and donate them. People need this, and if you think about it, you're warming your house right now during Thanksgiving, Christmas, the holidays, what have you. These people are suffering out there. And I do have to say, I did get complaints from the neighbors. Some of them were complaints that these people were going in their backyards and stealing from them and so forth, as well as some of the people over at some of the apartments in Ocean Ave that their cars have been broken into. This is survival for these people. But we as a community can and should do better. And I'm going to tell you that, one of the things that we need to do is either provide a shelter or provide shelter for them. Thank you.
Thank
Councilor
you.
McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to add, George, Councilor Rotundo, that we have an encampment in my ward on Furlong Drive right after Target. You can see it from the street. So there is an encampment there too. So can we please add this to your motion? The encampment on Furlong Drive after Target.
Councilor McKenna, you're talking about the one that's on the left-hand side if I'm headed out to the highway.
Yes,
There was a person that was actually burned there. They were in the middle there. Actually, Councilor-elect Silvestri and I have been to that one. The issue is speaking to a member of SUDI who is an expert with the homeless and addiction behavior, have spoken about the issues regarding the CDC. His goal is to try and move them to a property that is not near a residential area in order to help facilitate that. And they offer showers and so forth down at the SUDI office. But that's a Band-Aid on a bigger issue. And believe it or not, some people in that encampment actually have housing vouchers. But it's unfair to the people that are down there. It's unfair to the neighborhood. And more importantly, it's unfair to everybody. So the better solution, the only solution, is to help these people. And what's ironic, and thank you, Councilor Zambudo, President, for letting me, go through my diatribe. We have 571, I believe it is, that is an affordable housing building that is right down the street and right across the water, the little river there, is a $500 million project, and you've got these people suffering. So we have to do better.
I agree. Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. As a matter of fact, the property in question is, except for a river going through there, a ditch is in my ward. I've been down there. I was called down there at the request of Mr. Clowen, who owns the property adjacent to that area. It certainly is not only an embarrassment, it's something that should not be going on in this city or any other city or town in the Commonwealth. I know right now that Cheryl McCormick is from the Health Department. She's aware of this. Kim Hanton is working on this with the Mayor's office and also Chief Callahan. And it's my understanding that also Chris Alba from Healthy Initiatives is working on this also, and they're coming to some type of an answer to get these people into some homes that are adequate. And no one should be living like that. There's no question about it. And it's not getting better down there, it's getting worse. And I think, I would hope that the mayor's office And the health department and our legal department would be working on this ASAP, and it would be resolved not within weeks, within days. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. On the motion, all in favor, all opposed? So ordered. Counselor Keefe has a verbal motion.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, fellow councilors. I just wanted to offer and ask for a congratulatory motion for Miss Nancy Ring of Fennel Street for her 95th birthday on Thanksgiving, November 25th. She will celebrate her 95th birthday, and I would appreciate if the council would support me in presenting her with a congratulatory piece from the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Janino.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to take a moment to wish everyone a happy and healthy Thanksgiving. This will be the first time that many of us are getting back together with our families for the holiday season, so I'm really, excited for that. I think we're all looking forward to that. I know in my family it'll be the first time in 2 years we can all gather together, but still be safe, be vigilant, and go Patriots for the Thanksgiving game in the morning.
Mr. President, on my
Thank
motion.
you, Counselor. You stole my thunder. The one thing I was going to do was wish everybody a
Sorry.
happy Thanksgiving.
On
You
the
stole
motion,
it. It's
on my
okay.
motion,
What's that?
on my motion.
We
verbal?
voted on it. I
Oh,
already
thank you
voted
very
on it.
much.
I approved that motion, right?
We approved the happy birthday for Miss Ring.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that's wonderful. 95 years old, are you kidding me? She looks about 65. Okay, this council will stand adjourned till December 6th.